There we go. I was about 15 seconds there until I noticed on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, I was muted. Nothing really that you missed. Just a quick intro. I caught it early, but great to see everybody back. And I'll tell you what, I haven't really been feeling that much better since the morning meeting. I don't know. I still have to go get tested later on in the afternoon. So I'm sure it's just the common cold, but I don't know. I'll try and make this a quick and efficient meeting. We do have Bitcoin to discuss here at the end. The Mram trade, just to begin, it was on our morning watch list. Truth be told, it was on the bottom of our morning watch list. You know, I kind of look to prioritize the stocks on our watch list based on the ones that I feel most confident about towards the end to the ones I feel least confident about. And this one was shortable. I mean, hey, it was, kind of active in pre-market. It was making a bit of a spike early on, but man, as soon as the market opened up, this thing just kept going. Ended up breaking above 850, ran up all the way to 10. Well, from there, nice little drop, little short opportunity perhaps. But yeah, I mean, throughout the course of the day, this thing has just been gradually moving up and up and up, not necessarily easily. It's been a very choppy trade just altogether across the lows, on this trend. It's been building up pretty nicely. So for the meanwhile, we'll definitely put the MRAM stock on our watch list so far. It's near the high, so I would initially anticipate continuation going up. But if it ends up making a false breakout, or if it just completely tanks and breaks below 10, if we happen to see enough selling, perhaps that could lead us to another short opportunity on this trade. So we'll definitely start by putting the MRAM on our list. All right, so otherwise, we'll go right from top to bottom. It refilled up on water, at least before I started this meeting. That was a must. But otherwise, the WNW stock, I always get confused between this and Weight Watchers, WW. But yeah, this thing ended up making a big pop up. I mean, going into the early to mid morning, ended up getting halted a couple of times. This stock, though, in particular, has been a gigantic tease to us live inside the room in the past. From the last time that we called the stock out, it was actually right here back in July. I didn't remember the date off the, I didn't really remember the date that much, aside from going back to the big volume spike day here. You can just see on this day traded just about 23 million shares, ended up making a complete pop and drop. So, it wouldn't surprise me to see this just only continue to pull back further here heading into the close. All right, CYTO, another mover, at least early on this morning. It wasn't on the main list, but we called it out early. Volume died off even earlier. Goes to show when the volume dies off, so does the stock, right? Volume not dying off just yet on this TLMD trade. It looks like it did for a bit, but didn't break lower. It ended up re-breaking higher, and we ended up seeing a lot more volume get filled off the ask there, roughly off 285 and 286. I had made mention of that going into the early afternoon. So yeah, for right now, not only would I expect for that to be potential support, 285 to 286, but next resistance up top, you see just about a 30,000 share seller up top at 3. So definitely going to put this one on our list, the TLMD. All right, BRLT, we'll keep it going. BTB definitely threw me for a loop today. This stock was all over the place going into the after hours. I think it was back from Wednesday, if I could backtrack that far. I can't right now. All right, so it's just to say this thing was all over the place midway through this week, and that leaves you to think, well, what happens if we continue to see more buying? It wasn't yesterday where we saw that, but I mean, pretty shortly after the market opened up, another one. This BTB ended up just continuing to pop, broke above the highs that we had from the close yesterday, and then from there just took off. So as you could see, ended up making a beautiful move up towards 3. A little after 10:30, a little after 11 o'clock, this thing began to peak and then reverse from that point. So, again, volume died off on this trade. It's a Friday. We're not really expecting much out of the stock, going into the close. All right. I'll tell you what, I think the SNDL may have just popped up here on the gainers list. I'll come back to that if I need to. I know that Rich had called out the TLRY trade going into this meeting, just made a small little pop before we started. For right now, the Array Tech trade, though, ARRY, this one also ended up making a big pop as soon as the market opened up. But Leda had called this one out just before we started too. And with the stock near the highs right now at this time of the day, it should be a no-brainer. That in mind, though, it's pulling back down to 27. I would assume for that to be a potential support after that 26.50. If it ends up just completely flopping from this point, then it could be a better short. It is easy to borrow at least. So we'll see if this can make a higher low first. But otherwise, we'll check in with this later on. MITQ, I think, from this morning. Unfortunately, one that really didn't do that great. Granted, I guess we had a pop at the market open, but completely died off after, and just ugly. Ugly, ugly, ugly trade. All right. RGS wasn't so ugly earlier this morning. A little bounce right now, but it was a much better trade from the market open, as I had said, from 3 basically up to 370. It wasn't on our main list, but of course it was on our scanners as soon as the market opened up, so we jumped on top of this one pretty quick. Same with MGI. So IFRX pop, or at least move up towards the highs when we started this meeting. So I wanted to check back in with this. You know, it still looks pretty steady. I don't mind putting this on right now, the IFRX trade at least. Check in on Aurora Cannabis, ACB pot stock. I know that TLRY was somewhere around here earlier on the gainers list. I'll just type it up here for right now. So we had called out TLRY just before, right? Ended up popping from 12.50, moved up pretty nicely, just about like a 40-cent move almost. So I like the reaction off the level break. Let's check in with MJ, the pot ETF. Well, it's near the highs. It's a pretty encouraging sign. Not only that, but it's up near 5% altogether, the sector. So, you know what? The ACB trade, I'll put on our main list. I do like this stock for right now. It seems to be just following the sector a lot better than TLRY is. TLRY could be the more volatile of the two, but I don't know. I like the ACB trade a little bit more first. I guess we'll check in now at this point with the SNDL cheapie that I said would move with TLRY as soon as the market opened up. So for what it's worth, they had pretty good correlation. TLRY and Sundial, SNDL. So I don't know. ACB is moving with the sector better. TLRY could be pretty volatile in its own right if everything pushes entirely. But I'll keep the focus more on ACB just to begin. I don't want to build up like a 12 stock Josh afternoon watch list on a Friday. So, and at that point too, may as well check in on Canopy Growth, CGC. This one's moving just like the ACB. So I'll put both of these on, if anything. Not going to add more. All right, let's go over to the losers list for the meantime, see if maybe there's one or two from this side that look pretty good. To tell you the truth, my prediction is I doubt it. As I say that, the top percent loser here is actually shortable. That's the most interesting thing here. It's shortable. I don't know if this is, I would assume this is all-time lows. It is. Man, the issue on this stock is that it's a little too close to ground zero, meaning literally $0. It's just a little bit closer to my liking, meaning, how much are we really going to get by shorting a $1.41 stock? You know what I mean? Blue from this week, the PSFE trade from this week, that was a $4 stock just yesterday, or $5 stock that we shorted. It was breaking all-time lows. That was a great trade. I didn't feel that we were too close to ground zero there just for TISI, $1.41. It's a little too close for my liking. And actually, while I'm on the PSFE here, may as well add it to our list. It's up over 5%, but from how far the stock had pulled back yesterday, this is still making a bit of a dead cat bounce right now, so why not PSFE? Looks pretty interesting, tradable, on the way up to 450 resistance. Actually, not only 450, 455, your high of the day practically there, a penny above the high of the day. You have a 20,000 plus share iceberg. So, I would be a little reluctant at 450 initially, but then we'll see what happens. Still keep this on our list. Ride. Pretty flat, slow right now, albeit near the lows. Dropped off at least, going into the mid to late morning, but not a whole lot happening there right now. All right, folks, I think that just about wraps it up for me across the gainers and losers list. I'll jump to Bitcoin right now, and as I flap my gums for a quick minute, if there's anything else that ends up making a big move, just type it in the chat board. Just let me know. All right, so I ended up deleting all of those lines that I was showing from the last meeting. I remade them, so it's the same lines, just I replotted. So it's to say at least the 63,700 line right here. Well, of course, as we spoke about from yesterday, it's a quick little special edition going into crypto yesterday. Obviously, it crushed below that line and then ended up beginning to squeeze back up. Well, here today, we ended up seeing it continue to pull back this morning, early this morning, but thankfully, it held above the 100 EMA I have here on the 6-hour graph, and from there, starting to make the slingshot back up over and around that 63.7 line. Keep in mind, folks, as we're going over crypto, I can't be any more clear on this, as I've been clear on this for quite some time. If stocks don't trade level to level, and if not every level for a stock is going to hold picture perfect or flawlessly, what makes you think a 63,000 dollar symbol, crypto or equity, whatever it may be, we know it's crypto, but to have a $64,000 symbol, you can't expect perfection from these levels. So that's where I was saying here, I wasn't minding this little shake down and up. It was a big ass drop, that's for sure, from the highs. That's what gave me the anxiety. But at least now, well, it broke down, and I was a little more worried here this morning. The fact that we're getting the pullback up right now as the markets were at the highs today, Bitcoin was dropping off. I know the spot ETF got rejected. That's kind of the catalyst to this morning's drop, but I don't think that will be long-lived at all. Obviously, we're seeing the push back up here. Let me actually jump to a 15-minute chart, which I really don't show too often. So you can at least see here practically right around noontime, a little bit beforehand. This is where we started to see the real slingshot, at least for right now. So the goal is to see this over time, certainly into this weekend, begin to retrace back up closer to the 500 EMA here in red, and then perhaps up there a lot more. Actually, let me go back to my hour graph for that, if anything. Probably say the 100 EMA on my hour chart here. I would love to see it, pull back up further towards there come Monday morning. We'll see, though. All right, so that's all I got for you on crypto. CGC is pushing up higher already, so I'll tell you what. I don't think that we really need to look anywhere else so far, folks. We already have a stock that's moving up pretty nicely for us that's on our list. Did I mention anything on NUZE? Thanks from Celio. No problem at all. I did not. But, right now for the afternoon, I did call it out off of 5 earlier, but it's slow. I ended up making such a big move yesterday. I ended up making a big move in pre-market. Ended up making an even bigger move after the market opened up today. But yeah, right now it's just exhausted, I'd imagine. If anything, for as much as this stock popped from Thursday yesterday at like $2, I think that this stock can continue pulling back going into the close. If anything, I can't short it, so I'm not going to put it on our list. I'll pop on Mogo. Not a whole lot happening there. Yeah, Brian, that 63,000 level on Bitcoin bothered me too. I mean, just this morning. FSM might be a better short from Norman. In terms of it being a little bit further away from ground zero, I agree. And it's at the low, so it'd be hard for me to not put this on our list. Looks like a silver mining stock. Never really traded this one in the past. FSM. I don't know if this is related to the silver market entirely or if there's news specifically out on this. I always like to check Pan American Silver for that. So there's not much correlation either way. FSM, yeah. Why not? Can't keep saying that, though, for every stock. So this is actually a good call. But I think at this point, unless if there's anything looking a lot better than this, I think we'll call it here for the meantime. So we got 3, 6, 7 stocks to work with going into the market close. Not too big of a list. That's not big. We get big when we're at 10, I feel. Vuzi from John, and he also has Hut. Vuzi's a little choppy. It's at the highs, which I do like. So if it ends up popping, then I'm sure that we'll call it out as it will pop up more likely on the Benzinga Pro Signals page there. I see ANY at the high of the day right now. That one's trending up a little bit better as of right now, testing 7. HUT, Hut, John also brought up before. Also pretty tradable. I'd say Hut's looking better than the Vuzi stock there. John, of the two. Both are tradable by all measures, but I feel like we might have just a bunch of tradable stocks going into the close. I mean, just look at Riot, right? How often do we see these crypto mining, Bitcoin mining affiliated stocks break out higher into the close, folks? Rarely, if ever. I know one day that we'll have egg on our face and being wrong in that, but you know what? Just for fun, I'll add Riot to our list of those, John. And if you want to keep your eye on Hut, that's definitely a great, mining stock to follow too. I wouldn't be shocked if I'm wrong on this sentiment. Seeing Riot break higher into the close, it still has to break over about a 37,000 share order on the ESC, sitting up top at 42. Skills, SKLZ, right? Like you could also point this one out to me as well. Very tradable. Popped up on my Benzinga page as well. It's only up 2.5%. So, I mean, there's plenty of stocks I can put on the list that are tradable, but I'd rather start with these for right now. Hey, if there's one of these from the side list that you personally do pretty well on a day-to-day basis, then I'm sure that you'd be more interested in following that specific stock. Just make sure that it has enough momentum to actually make you a profit. You don't want to be watching the grass grow for the next 90 minutes here, next 75 minutes or so. All right. This trade does look good, but for right now, we'll keep it on the side. I think for right now, we're pretty much all set, folks. For all of us on YouTube and Facebook Live today, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon, especially today, dealing with my sick voice. If you have any questions, feel more than free to send over an email. Josh@c2trading.com is my handle. If you're ready to make the plunge, join us live inside our live trading room. Feel more than free to do so by going right down to the link on the banner below to get yourself started. I appreciate that, Dev, and same goes for everyone here. Have a great weekend. I certainly hope that I'll feel better. I'll be back on the sticks later on at 3:30, though. All right, folks, I'll talk to you soon.